What's up, everybody? It's John here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today back in Fallout 4, grabbing the Benevolent Leader achievement. This is to reach maximum happiness in a large settlement. So, the first thing you do is some prep work. I recommend doing this at the end of the game, that way you have as many resources and money as possible. And after that, you want to head over to this area called County Crossing and pick some mutfruit. You can usually find this at any small settlement with a farm, so make sure you grab as much mutfruit as you can while you're playing the game. If not, this is a good area. You can just run through this orchard and then pick as many as you can. There's way more than enough to make it work here. And other notes to keep in mind, you want to make sure you capture some settlements from the Minutemen. You want to send all your companions away from the settlement we're going to be using. And if you're doing this achievement in Sanctuary Hills, you want to make sure that you finish all of Sturge's tutorial missions. So, I'm doing this at level 39 with a bunch of Minutemen settlements already captured, and I'm going to be doing this in Sanctuary Hills. And I also have a bunch of money. So what you want to do is you want to level up enough until you can get these perks. You want to make sure you have 10 charisma. That's very important. You also want to have as many cap collectors as you can. I recommend being at least rank 2. Rank 3 has you going up to level 41, so that might be a little difficult. Rank 2 only requires you to be up to level 20. You also want to have both local leader stars filled out, and then at least 3 in intelligence, and then 1 in medic. Alright, after that, we are going to start our next step, which is to get people. The maximum amount of people you can have at your base is whatever your charisma level is plus 10. So the maximum base charisma you can get is 10 from leveling up. You can also get additional charisma from finding the bobblehead, as well as having pieces of armor that give you extra charisma. So you can have up to, I guess, 17, but that armor is usually legendary armor. It's a little hard to find. So I'm doing this with 10 charisma points from leveling up, 1 from the bobblehead, and then 1 from a chest piece I found. Then what you want to do is you want to build a radio beacon and then hook up a generator to it. You should already know how to do this from the tutorial missions that Sturges and Preston Garvey gave us. Make sure the light is green and people will start coming in. And it will usually peak around some number, like I peaked at 16, which is way lower than what my maximum cap is. If that happens, what you need to do is you need to go to another settlement that you've captured, build a radio beacon there and let people come in there, and then tell those people to go to the base where you're getting this achievement. So here's my radio beacon. I have 16 people here, and now I need to go out and get more people. So I'm going to bring up my data right here. You want to go to workshops, and then you want to look for a place that has a bunch of people. So I'm going to see that Outpost Zimonja has a lot of people, has 14 people. So I'm going to head over there. You can just hit show on map and then fast travel. Once you're here, what you want to do is you want to go into workshop mode by holding the back button, and then you want to go up to your settlers, and then you want to hit X to move them, and you want to move them to where you are doing this achievement. So in my case, I'm going to pick Sanctuary Hills. So set Sanctuary Hills as your new home, and make sure you do this until you hit the cap. So until Sanctuary Hills, or wherever you're doing this achievement at, is grayed out. So also make sure you don't have any companions at the base where you're doing this achievement. So I sent Cogsworth and Curie and anyone else I had there. I sent them away. I believe you can keep the dog because he doesn't count as a person, so you can leave dog meat there if you care to do so. Alright, after that you want to make sure your base has maximum people, so mine is 22. Fast travel back home and then move on to step 3, which is going to be planting food. So what you want to do is you want to hold the back button to bring up your workshop mode, head over to resources, and then go to the food tab, and you want to pick mutfruit, which is why we picked so many mutfruit plants earlier, so we can plant as many mutfruit trees as you can. And the reason you want to use mutfruit is because it's the most efficient source of food, because every mutfruit tree will give you 1 source of food. Whereas everything else only gives you about half a source of food. So you want to plant as many as you can. I have 49, but your goal is to get your food counter greater than the number of people you have. So I have 22 people. I try to get my food over 20. So I'm just going to keep planting trees until I get over 20. So once you have everything planted, you can move on to the next step. And step 4 is going to be water. There are a couple of ways to get water. So just go back to your resources tab and then go to water. You can make these pumps right here, which will give you 3 water each. And water is just like food, where you need to have the number greater than the number of people you have. So you can just place a bunch of these pumps. However, there's a more efficient way, and you can put a water purifier. So head down to the riverbank, and then you want to go to your resources tab again. Go under water, and you can build a water purifier, and they look a little something like this. And this gives you way more water per pump. So make sure you build these. All you have to do is just stick them in the water, and like that. There's also an industrial size. However, that requires you to have your science level up to rank 1. So we're going to skip that just because we have better stuff to put our level ups into. The thing with both of the water purifiers is they require power. So back out and then go to the main menu, go to power, and then you want to place down generators. And just like the radio beacon, you have to hook it up via a wire. So place as many generators as you can for each purifier. Each purifier takes at least 1 generator worth of power. So once you plop down the generator, just go back to this mode, hit the Y button on the generator, and then hit Y to attach it to the purifier. Do that for all the purifiers, and you should be good. Water's super duper easy, and you can knock out that step. And make sure that the number of water is greater than the number of people you have. So there we go. Way overkill, but there we go. Step 5 is going to be defense. So the best way to defend your base is to build turrets. You can also build guard barracks and guard walls and like Tesla arcs and stuff, but that stuff either is too inefficient or requires a person to work it. So the turret mans itself, which is why it's awesome. Make sure you build these until your defense meter is above 150. It also has to be greater than the combined total of your food and water values. So make sure you keep that in mind. It has to be above 150 and above the combined number of food and water. Alright, after you have your turret set up, you can move on to step 6, which is to build beds. So beds is going to be the same thing as food and water. It has to be greater than the number of people in your settlement. Another thing with beds is they have to be under shelter. So you can either build these wooden structures right here and put beds underneath them. But the cool thing about Sanctuary Hills is there's a bunch of pre-made houses, and you can just put all of your beds in there, which is super cool. The reason for this is you have to keep your settlers out of the rain. If you build the beds out in the open, they will lower their happiness rating. So keep that in mind. Build all your beds indoors, and you should be good. So we're just going to set them along here. You make them look pretty if you want to, and make them look straight. But it doesn't matter as long as the number is higher than the people number. So set up your beds, and you should be good to move on to step 7. This step's going to be the longest, most expensive, and most complicated step. So the first thing you want to do is you want to hold the back button and bring up your stores menu. The first store you want to build is going to be the general store, which is the trader, and you have to upgrade it to tier 3. This requires you to have a rank 2 local leader perk as well as a rank 2 cap collector perk. And you can also have a rank 3 cap collector perk, which is optional. However, it slashes the price of building stores by 1/3, so you can do this with way less money. I had about 36 grand worth of caps before I attempted this. So if you're strapped for cash, make sure you get to level 41 and get cap collector rank 3. It will help out a bunch if you don't have money. But after you build the general trader's store, you want to build 4 restaurants, which is under food and drink, and then 4 clinics, and then 4 clothing stores. These all have to be rank 3, and you want to build 4 of each of them, totaling for 16 stores. Also, you want to build them in front of the yellow house. The reason for that is you need to build them in an area where you can keep an eye on all of them at the same time. So I'm just building them in a straight line right here. This is another reason I recommend using Sanctuary, is because you can spot them out. It's a nice big open area compared to other bases which are very tiny. So it should look a little something like this. 4 trading emporiums rank 3, 4 surgery centers rank 3, 4 restaurants rank 3, and 4 clothing emporiums rank 3. So make sure you count them out, make sure you have 4 of each, and you should be good to move on. Alright, so after you have that all set up, the next thing you want to do is you want to go over to resources, go to miscellaneous, and then you want to build a bell. And you want to make sure you build this somewhere in front of your stores. So I'm going to build it right next to my house right here, and you're going to put it down, and then you should be good. The next step is going to be assigning people jobs. So the first thing you want to do is you want to ring the bell, and that will call a town meeting. So every single settler in your town will come over. So once that happens, you want to make sure you assign them jobs. So hold the back button to go into workshop mode, highlight a settler, and then you want to assign them to a job. So for this achievement, you want to make sure every single store has someone working on it. Once you have every single store filled, you want to assign everyone else to go pick food at our mut fruit orchard. So just keep highlighting people and then assigning them into a store. Make sure every store has only one person. And you know when a resource is assigned, you'll get the little Q right there in the upper left hand corner, and you can check where a person is working by highlighting them. It should also highlight where they are assigned to. So that's why we have all the stores out where we can see them. Alright, afterwards it should look a little something like this. Either the store will have a person in them, or empty stores will have the little icon with the Vault Boy right there saying hi to us. So make sure all the stores either have a person or that icon saying that there is a person assigned to them. And you want to make sure all 16 have someone assigned to them. Once all of your shops have someone working in them, what you want to do is you want to go back to your bell and you want to ring it again. This will call another town meeting, and what you want to do at this town meeting is make sure everyone is assigned a job. Whoever is not working at a storefront, you want to make sure they are assigned to go pick food at the mut fruit orchard. So I found someone who wasn't working at a store. I'm going to move them back here and make sure they pick food. You want to make sure your food count stays above your people count, so make sure you do that. So however many leftover people you have, if you're doing this in a settlement with 20, that means 4 people go pick food, and every person who works in the orchard should pick about 6 food, so you should be hovering around 24-ish food. And 1 person per store, everyone else gathers food, and make sure you keep the food count above the people count. Those are the 3 things to keep in mind during this step. Alright, the step 9 is going to be decorations. What you want to do is you want to go to decorations, you want to pick wall decorations, and you want to pick painting, and you just want to cover every single vertical surface you can with paintings. So every single wall of every single house, you just want to just go all out on paintings, and you can become a madman and just deck everything out with paintings. So just make sure you do that. And this is going to cost you a lot of wood. This is why we did this towards the end of the game, where we have a bunch of resources we can expend. So cover everything with paintings. Once you run out of wall space to cover with paintings, we are going to move on to other types of decorations that don't require any wall space. So once again, hold back to bring up the menu, and then you want to go back to decorations, and this time we are going to pick statues, and this is going to cost you copper. So I like building the baseball man. You can build the lion or the rifleman if you want to. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to build a bunch of him. Once you run out of copper or whatever resource you're using, we are going to go to miscellaneous directions, and you can build anything you want. I like building Nuka-Cola machines because I think they look cool, but you want to make sure you fill your town with decorations until the size bar in the upper right-hand corner runs out, and you want to make sure that bar is yellow. That will ensure that you have a large settlement, which you need for the achievement. So once that bar is filled, you can't put any more items down. So you want to fill your town with decorations until you do that. And you also want to make sure your happiness has an arrow next to it that's pointing up. So step 9 is going to be the long and tedious grindy part, which is the waiting game. What you want to do is you want to ring the bell. That will bring every single person to a town meeting again. Another way to bring up happiness is to be around your settlers, and the best way to do that is to call a town meeting. That way all of them are around you, and when they're around you, the happiness will go up. Another thing you want to keep in mind is you do not want to leave your settlement while you're attempting this achievement. So keep that in mind. Once you leave, the happiness goes down. So what you want to do is you want to ring the bell, be around everyone, and you want to keep your eye on the happiness bar. Once you start noticing it go up, you want to go sleep for 24 hours. Another reason to sleep for 24 hours is if all the people leave and go back to their jobs. Once either one of those happens, your happiness bar goes up or they all leave. Go sleep for 24 hours. Once you wake up, you want to go back to the bell, ring it again, and then repeat the process. So ring the bell, hold the back button to go into build mode, wait for about 5 or 6 minutes, so until the happiness bar goes up or until the people leave, and then go to sleep for 24 hours and just rinse and repeat until you get the achievement. Now, it's going to take a very long time playing the waiting game. I think it took me about 2 hours going from 74 happiness to 100, and I've heard some other cases of this taking up to 6 hours, but just keep repeating this process, and once you happen to hit 100, you should pop your achievement. There it is, 20 gamer score, and that's all there is to it.